My name is Amy Fortin, and I'm a Montreal-based trumpet player who specializes in new music, experimental music, improvised music, contemporary music, all the weird sounds.
So I think the first question I have was tell us about your story with the trumpet. How'd you choose this instrument and this career path?
So I started to play trumpet at age 12 in high school. I decided to choose music because I remember seeing all the instruments. We had like a different meetings to choose the options we would choose in high school, and I saw all the instruments and I was like, whoa, that seems really fun. And they were talking about doing some like mini trips to play in competitions and things like that. So this already the idea of traveling for music and just being part of a big group as well. I'm an only child, so I think being part of a big group was also appealing. And then during the summer, I was watching TV, listening to radio, and I remember it was an art TV channel, and they were playing the show Blast, which is the Broadway show for drum corps people. So you had percussions, brass, and some dancers. So that was my first contact with music. It was not orchestra, which I think it's interesting considering my career path. And I was like, wow, trumpet always have the melody. So I think like deep down I'm really a trumpet player. I wanted to be in the spotlight. And so I was like, wow, trumpet seems really cool. And then I was listening to radio and realizing that in pop music sometimes you had trumpet. So it was not I was really appealed by the versatility of the trumpet. And then we had the trial day at the high school, and I was able to play saxophone and trumpet right away. So I'm pretty happy I chose the trumpet. And I'm also feeling lucky actually that I chose my instrument, because a lot of people actually, I realized later, didn't have to choose the instrument. It was like, we're missing a clarinet, play the clarinet or something like that. The second year of my master's degree, I thought I would pursue an orchestral job because this is what I was taught. I did, so the summer between my 2 years of master's degree, I did in Montreal. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was called the Montreal Contemporary Music Club. So it was like 10 days where they were pairing composers with performers to create new pieces. And this was really fun. And we were introduced to improvisation as well. So I was like, okay, there's some different things. And I already played in the contemporary music ensemble at McGill, where I did my master's degree. I also remember being really frustrated by this music at first, being like, such complicated rhythms with air sounds that nobody might hear. Why do we have to do that? But realizing closer to the concert that I became excited to perform this piece rather than being stressed. I used to have a lot of performance anxiety. I'm sure like the performances were not as bad as they were in my head. But I used to be so stressed to perform, especially solo. But then with contemporary music, I had this excitement to be like, wow, I'm gonna, like, the audience won't believe what they're about to hear. And then my second year of master's degree, I took a seminar about Vinko Globokar. He's a French composer and trombonist. He's probably 91, 92 today. And he wrote this piece called Laboratorium, which is probably 5 hours long piece. You have like 9 solos, 8 duos, 7 trios, etc. And so we just picked up like the pieces we were able to play with the instrumentation we had. And the teacher, she's a percussion teacher, Ayun Hang, was just amazing. And she invited the composer to come work with us for like a weekend. We did 2 performances, and I was like, oh, I think this is where I belong, because these pieces were really experimental. Sometimes we had to put our instrument in water to make weird sound. We had to turn on ourselves to create a Doppler effect, all funky stuff. And before actually wanted to become a musician, I wanted to become an actress because of the movie Titanic. Thanks, Kate Winslet. And I was, oh, but there's a genre of music, like gestural music, where you can actually bring together multiple art forms. It's not just about the sound, it's about also sometimes acting or the visual aspect of it. And so it was really this moment where I was like, okay, I think I might go see what's happening in that area of music. And the summer after my master's degree, I just went to all the new music festivals I could think of. As many people, I think after school, I wanted to be versatile, being like, but I will do new music, but I'll also play an orchestra and maybe be a baroque trumpet player as well. And at some point, you realize that you have 24 hours in a day, and it's also challenging to try to manage different genres. Montreal is a big city, and at the same time, it doesn't feel that big. We're not that many musicians, I think. I was probably one of the only trumpet player wanted to go into that contemporary music area. And so, of course, when you're doing one thing, people start calling you more for the thing you do that is different from others. And this is how I just realized that I should really put all my energies into contemporary music.
You mentioned this a little bit in your story, but it's so true that so many students feel pressured to sort of stay in the traditional careers. In what ways do you feel like this teaching is flawed, and how did you approach carving your own path outside of these traditional expectations?
So many of my friends and colleagues dropped out of music school, sometimes after a doctorate degree, because they were like, it seems there's so little spots for us, right? Like it's so competitive. And it makes me really sad because I discovered it like late enough in my training. I wish I was 19 and I knew about contemporary music, but still, it was not that late that I was still holding on to having a career in the music world. And I feel that if we were open early on to all the possibilities, realizing that you have people who are recording, musicians who are playing with pop bands, who are doing world music, who are like doing so many things. And like having a classical music degree is a great base. Like it's great to have. That doesn't mean you need to. I mean, everything I learned in that degree is still useful for what I'm doing. I don't regret it. But there's so much more to orchestral world. And it's sad because when even in Montreal, when I see most performance teachers are part of an orchestra, that's their main thing. So of course they cannot teach what they don't know. that But I feel the world is changing so quickly, and it's not true that there's an orchestra job for every musician who's graduating from a music school. It's a hard world. So for me, the idea of like pursuing, it's like for me, the orchestra world is that big. It's really small, and you're trying to shoot the arrow right in that, but there's so much more around. For me, I think Montreal is great because you have a lot of different shows every night. You have three, four, five shows, and I was curious enough, and I think curiosity is a good thing to develop, like to go see as many things as you can, but also going to museums, experimental movies, or just like to be open. The thing that I think is really detrimental is that way of teaching is that we are taught that perfection is the goal. At least for me, it was that. You need to be perfect at playing these excerpts to win an audition, to play it perfectly, because we have so many references of this music, because this is the goal, right? To play without, like, to be almost like not humans, but robots. And I think what helped me with contemporary music and the fact that I became excited to play music and not completely devastated by stress was to be, oh, I can be myself. I'm just because before that I was just a trumpet player, and there are so many good trumpet players. You know, so many people who be way better than me at playing Petrushka. When my strengths are in creation, like I have good ideas, I have ideas for project. I'm a good leader. All things that maybe are not taught in music school because weirdly we're a bit backward. I feel like I don't know if you go to visual art school, maybe you'll be like, what do you like to draw, to paint? What are your interests? And then we'll teach you the techniques. In music schools, it's a bit like, here are to play an instrument, and this is how you need to play this type of music, okay? And then when you're out in the world, it's like, who are you as a musician? And a lot of people will never find the answer because unfortunately, an orchestra might not be the right space for that. It's not the goal. You need to play in a section, you need to be at the service of like what's written and the conductor and everything, which is okay in itself, but I think it might be detrimental for a lot of people. And I remember during my undergrad, I was friend with some jazz people, and I was always shocked because it was about their sound. Like you have a really mellow sound, so you'll do maybe more ballads. You're good at high notes, so you'll be like a screamer. And I feel like we're already thinking about what are your strengths, and we're gonna work on that. But in music school, it's what are your weaknesses, and we're gonna try to make them even with everything, which of course, again, it's important, but I don't think we're aware enough, and the teachers are not aware as well of like, what are your strengths as a musician? Who are you as a human being? And we're going to work to try to carve that out of you to make sure that when you're out of school, you know what you like, and you know like how to surround yourself with the people who have the same interest. To be open to a lot of different things could help realizing that there's a world outside the orchestral world. And for me, I think maybe 1% of the students are like really made to pursue this career path. But I think we should care about the 99%. For me, it's like what's unique about you, and you should work on that uniqueness rather than trying to be like everyone else around you.
Your journey with self-expression and creative music is something I'm really curious about. And I'm wondering if in that journey you faced any opposition or challenges, and then how you overcame them if you did.
The first challenges I would say was where it happened during my master's recital when I was really more into playing this kind of music. And to be honest, I had a good trumpet teacher, but I think sometimes he was making fun of this type of music. Like I decided to play for my master's recital the trumpet solo from Vinko Globokar Laboratorium, so the seminar I took. And it's a piece where basically it's all you have little cells of sounds that are made breathing in and breathing out, and you just alternate. So it can be like, it's a lot of air sounds and different techniques. So it's not like you have some notes, but it's not something you can sing along to. And I remember asking him some advices, and he was kind of basically making fun of it, like, oh, you do pa, 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 pa. Like a lot of professional musicians still today will make fun of new music. Like it's just like, bleep, blah, bloop music. But the good thing is that Ayun, the percussion teacher, was really good at helping me, even if she doesn't play trumpet, but she was really good at understanding this type of music and how you can find the musicality in it, even if on paper it doesn't look like something we're used to do. And so that for me, to overcome that was to surround myself by people who think alike and who have an open mind, and who, for them, there's not like only one way to play music, but there's multiple ways. And it takes some time because you want to be accepted by everyone. And if you're choosing something that is a bit different, of course it might be scary to be like, oh, I might be alone for a couple of times to be on my own. But then when you find your people, these people exist in every music school. So what's weird about it, because you'd be like, oh, I need to talk only to brass teachers, but no, actually maybe the piano teacher is really good at helping you play and perform this piece. Maybe the composition students can help you. Maybe the jazz, you have a discussion with a jazz student. So, but it's hard sometimes because some university will be really like in silos. Like it can be hard to talk to these people. But again, if like you go to some different shows and everything, you might meet different people. Another challenge I think I face, and maybe face still today, but it's the one with myself. I've read somewhere that music school is a trauma. I don't know if it's true, but I think it stays with us for a really long time. In my really darker days where I have self-doubt, imposter syndrome, I might think, oh, of course, Emily, you chose contemporary music. It's because you're not good enough to pursue an orchestra career. it's weird, right? Because there's nothing that on record, like everything is going well, and there's nothing that says that I'm not a good enough trumpet player. For me, playing contemporary music, like you need some skills that you need to have a really good basic level of playing your instrument to get into that, you know? But sometimes it's just like this, oh man, what are my colleagues thinking of me? You know, the people I graduated with, they're like, oh, of course, Milie is doing air sounds and playing with a balloon. More and more, these moments are shorter and shorter. But I think it's interesting to see, like, yeah, it shows something different, and I'm blossoming. So the challenges, I think it's normal and okay if like you make a decision and sometimes you're like, ah, is that the right one? It was, but like you might just have some doubt, and it's normal.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome is so real. I think that orchestral music, especially orchestral excerpts, they're so short and so easy to post online. And once you hear someone play it better than you, it's like, how am I ever gonna, win a job or make a career out of this if I don't sound like that?
I was about to say, I can imagine, like, I grew up, like, I got Instagram when I was out of grad school. So I'm old enough. I didn't live with that, but I can imagine also having, like, you compare yourself with your colleagues, but on top of that, you have like online comparison with people you don't know of. It must be really hard.
Yeah, it's definitely a mind game. You have to convince yourself all the time that what you're hearing is manufactured in the sense that they recorded it a million times and posted the most perfect version.
And even like we tend to forget that the recording world is still pretty new. We don't have recordings from Mozart era.
Right.
Honestly, I have no idea how it sounded, and it was probably, I'm pretty sure it was not sometimes that in tune, or like the acoustic or the instruments themselves. And so we came to believe that a recording is sometimes a one-shot deal, or even like a live performance. It's so normal to have mistakes or things like that, especially for brass, because when we hear it when we miss a note. We're not a section violin. So I think we must relearn how, like, that everything we hear is really the first time of this recording. And also, that doesn't mean it's less. We're human. That's the beauty of it. And we're seeing it with AI and everything today. Like, do we want something that is perfect, or we want something with emotions? And with emotions come not perfection.
How do you approach teaching improvisation to students who are afraid to express themselves or worry they're going to play something wrong?
That's really well said. The wrong thing, the wrong playing, the idea of playing wrong is really, really deep down engraved in us. For me, because like improvisation with such a big freedom, a big liberty aspect of my playing, I'm trying to make sure that we don't think of like wrong or right, and free improvisation, which will be really about textures, atmosphere, not necessarily about keys or beats, or like it's not about that. It's about creating maybe like even something that is really abstract. Like, let's say the breakfast I ate this morning, trying to play it in sounds. So for me, it's about giving a structure. Even if it's called free improvisation, it's not true that we're doing whatever. So having a structure to start with is really helping. And it could be as simple as you're going to improvise, but with one note. Choose your favorite note, and you can play at any octaves, any effects, any mutes, anything. What can you do with one note? And it's really surprising how many ideas can come with a single note. Same thing with sometimes I really love doing sounds that are completely opposite to what we could expect from trumpet. So really tiny sounds, quiet. So it could be, what can I take out of my trumpet to do that? So then it opens up your mind, because we know how to make a really good sound. But what if I just have my mouthpiece? What are the possibilities with just the mouthpiece? And even before that, I would say that sometimes without an instrument, we can improvise with our voice, with our percussion, like our body as a percussion object, with little accessories, with a chair. with anything. And sometimes that helps because we're so well trained on our instrument. We know how to make a really nice note, and it can be challenging to be, no, I want you to play like you don't know how to play. But no, you spend like 20 years learning this instrument. So if you just use your voice, sometimes it's way more natural and you don't have to think about the production of the sound. So like really little things, it's really little by little. And there's games that exist like John Zorn, he's an American composer and saxophonist, invented this game piece called Cobra. And it's basically a pack of cards. And you have on every card some instruction. It can be like long tones, staccato sounds, loud, quiet. And this is something you can easily do for your students. You can pick up, I don't know, 10 cards, write different instruction, and then you show them. And then you can show multiple at the same time. And so it gives a structure. I don't know, starting to bike, right? You don't go right, you have the little wheels to start with. These are like the structure of the improvisation. And when you feel more comfortable and it's everyone has a different rhythm, then you can take the little wheels out. For me, improvisation is a discussion. It's a really nice way to learn how to be in society at this point. Like you discuss with someone else. So I really like doing improvisation, but as a group. It can also be just like me and the student, but I think sometimes alone, even for me, like doing a solo set, it's challenging. You're alone. You need like to always, you're the only source of material. But when you just two people, you can bounce off ideas out of each other. So I think even it's just two people that really helps too.
I'm curious because I find whenever I'm in a situation where improvisation is happening around me or I'm participating in it, I feel like it's challenging for me to remove my ego in terms of like, do they think I sound good or is this appealing, you know? So
Yeah.
how do you approach removing ego from improvisation, or do you?
I totally get it. Like, for example, if I was in a jazz sitting, I would be terrified. I would just think about like, is it a good melody that I'm building? And these people they're thinking, they're able to think so fast. You know, I'm not there yet. So this is why for me, like doing textures is really helpful because I don't need to think about that. Maybe one day I'll think about the melody, but like if I'm thinking about one texture, I would like to do that really help me. The other thing that can be helpful is to be like, this is an improvisation and this is ephemeral. It won't last. Like we don't need to record that. You know it's gonna happen and after it's done. And it's nice to discuss about it after, but I would say to take it as what it is. It's not a performance. You're not playing. You're not also like most of the time these jams, it's for fun. You know, it's a community gathering. We sometimes forget that, but at the end of the day, it's the fun to be, hey, we have no score, we have no sheet of music. What can we do with our instruments that comes from us and not from something that is telling us how to play? I mean, I think the ego will always be there, and sometimes we need it, but to be remembered that it's an improvisation. And you have bad improvisation and you have good improvisation. And it's the funny thing with contemporary music is that there's still a lot of bad music being composed today. I'm not saying everything's good, but with like Mozart, Beethoven, like the canons, they already have been established. But like Mozart wrote pretty bad music too. It's just like we don't play it anymore because it's been so long. So like we clean that out. Yeah, it's okay if you do an improvisation that's not the best thing. And like sometimes maybe starting with short improvisation, like to be like, we're gonna improvise for 40 minutes. Might be you have the time to be in your head a lot. If you do like, we'll do 5 minutes, that's enough to start with. Or even like if people are improvising for a longer time, you can decide, I'm going to join them for this amount of time. The ego might be helpful, but in this case, nobody will die if you're not happy with how you played. And if you go with people who are super experienced, of course, you might feel that you're not good enough, but like find the right people, maybe not just all advanced jazz cats or just or a mix of different people too. This is what I really like with free improvisation. It can be jazz people, classical people, people who are not trained musicians. You put them all together, so it helps getting out of your ego a bit.
Sort of talking about improvisation, do you feel like improvisation should be a technique that's integrated into classical music education? And do you feel like it would benefit students and the genre itself?
Oh, so much. And I feel the earlier we start, the more open our ears are. I know like sometimes I'm doing some graphic scores activities with kids and they don't think about it, they just do it. For them it's not weird to, I don't know, try to play a triangle or to play with a chair to make some sounds, you know? I feel like the older we're getting, the more bias and stereotypes and the more like we became a bit close. And even like myself, I know there's some things that for me I see it a bit like ice skating. I don't know if you ice skate, but I remember being a kid and ice skating because I live in Quebec, so we have winters. You see, like, I remember, like, I would just go on the ice. I wouldn't think about, oh my God, if I'm breaking my leg or if I fall, it's just, and you see kids of like 3 or 4 years old, they just go for it. And then I started to skate maybe in the pandemic. And my God, I was so stiff. It was so hard because I was like, oh, if I break something, I will fall on my head, I will break my arm, everything. And it didn't help because I was so stiff that, of course, it's not helping me to skate. If I was more loose, it would help. And it's the same thing with music because we're so, again, this area that we're really good at is so small, so it's hard to get out of it. As I was saying, improvisation is a way to get into a relationship with other people. I think we can learn a lot if I'm in an improvised music setting and I'm like, wow, I really don't like what this person is doing right now. It's not my, I don't know, it could be like someone who just play all the time without stopping is not listening. A bit like someone who will keep talking and talking and not listen to you. And it's like, well, it's a performance right now. And I cannot just leave the stage. I need to do something out of it. How will I include myself? How would I say something that can be complementary to what this person is doing? And I think it's a big skill to get, especially the world is burning. We don't know what it will be in 10 years, but we need to live in community, to learn how to live in community. And that means most of the time not agreeing with some people's opinion. And I feel improvisation, I was talking about it with a friend recently, and this is what she said. She was like, yeah, it's a society we're building when we're improvising. And I think it goes beyond the musical aspect of it, but it's really a way to get in touch with people and to learn how they work and to try to do something with it. And on top of that, yeah, the listening skills are so important. And weirdly, we're using a lot more our eyes sometimes to play music than our ears, just because it is what it is. And to get back at, there's nothing between my instrument and I and the other people. Again, it can be a bit scary, but like, how am I really listening? And it will be really helpful for other situations. And coming back to what we were saying at the beginning, like finding who you are as a musician will be really, it's going to be a lifelong journey, but true improvisation is a good way because, for example, I was saying like some improvisers will play and play and play multiple notes, like 60,000 notes a minute. It's a style. I personally don't like it, but it also fits my personality. I'll be the chill person, maybe just doing my own thing, and I don't need to talk all the time. So it also reflects on who you are in real life and how do you have in a group, you have a leader, you have someone who will be the quiet leader, you have, so who are you? And you can discover that through improvisation because you don't have a specific role to play. Everything is, you don't know what role you play until you start improvising. So I think it's really a nice life lesson to improvise, and especially even with non-musicians. How do we go beyond our fears? It's such an important skill. It's like taking acting lessons, when you're an adult, or like we're so scared, again, because of the ego, to make a fool out of ourselves and to what will people think about me? But at the end of the day, everyone will go to bed, like it's okay if you make a fool out of yourself for 5 minutes. Like, what will happen? Nothing. So I think if you can improvise, there's so many things you can control during a performance. If you're able to go along despite everything that can happen, this is really useful. You don't need to have a full class for a whole semester about improvisation. Maybe in the group session, you can do a 10 minutes a week all together, or try coming out with ideas. It's gonna help. Creativity is just so important, and weirdly, because music schools are sometimes a bit backward, we forget that. But I think it's important to bring it back.
So, would you say for you, the teaching of improvisation would be more about teaching a breadth of skills musicians can use versus just the skill of improvising itself?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. I don't think you need your own instrument teacher to be teaching you how to improvise. Like, I could teach a percussionist or a pianist. It's not about necessarily your instruments. It's more about what can you discover on your instrument, and you don't need necessarily to be an expert at it even.
Do you have any practical advice for individuals or groups who hope to start their own musical project as someone who has started her own projects in the past?
Surround yourself with people you enjoy being with, and even if they not necessarily think like you, who are willing and eager to start things. I think it's probably outside, like having a general idea of what you would like to create or put in the world. Finding people who is nice and easy to work with might be the biggest challenge. And you might realize it after a while. It's like being a roommate with a friend, right? Sometimes they're like, oh, we're friends, we're going to be great roommates. Maybe not. Maybe after living for 1 year with this person, you might be, well, it's better we don't live together. But surrounding yourself with people, trying not to do it all by yourself. And I'm saying that knowing I'm someone who loves to work alone because I like going fast, but I need to be reminded myself that most of the time exchanging ideas with people will really help, and you never know. You're just like the possibilities of contacts and ideas is just getting bigger with the more people you surround yourself with. I would also say, like, don't be afraid to start something. I remember thinking, oh, I'm starting this duo and it's gonna last forever. And no, it lasted maybe 4 years, and it's okay. To not be afraid of, it's like a love relationship. Like, don't, it might end, but whatever, like, just try to do it. And some things will last a year, some things will last 10 years. Maybe you'll be replaced in your own project by someone else, and it's okay. Do not be afraid of trying things. And a thing I always had naturally, I don't know how, but I know it might be hard for some people, but cold message, cold call, cold email people. The worst thing you can get is a no. And if it's a no, you move on. And it's a no, maybe it's going to be yes a year after, you don't know. Like right now I'm in Toronto because I'm part of Freesound. It's a contemporary music ensemble. And I don't live in Toronto. I'm the only one living in Montreal who is in this ensemble, but I'm in it because I knew of, like, the artistic director is a composer, and I knew of him, and I knew he had this ensemble. I was like, I would love to be part of a contemporary music ensemble. And one day I was like, hey, Paolo, if ever you need a trumpet player in your project, I know I don't live in the same city, but it would be my pleasure to come. It's not that far. And he was like, oh, well, sure. Yeah, let's have a trumpet. And sometimes people don't know what they need until someone asks them. So don't be afraid. Worst case, sometimes, like, I'm just booking myself sometimes a morning or an afternoon of emailing for different things or festivals, or if I have ideas, and I'm just gonna send a bunch of emails, and then it's closed. I don't think about it until I get an answer. So it's hard because you're putting yourself in a vulnerable state because you're opening yourself to rejection. But the reality is that a rejection might be better than nothing happening. Again, like, right now I'm doing some conferences about either improvisation or extended techniques on trumpet for composers and things like that. And I never thought I would give conferences or master classes, but it came from going to a summer festival in Europe and seeing some people who I really admire and respect giving master classes and conferences. And I was like, well, it looks like they just prepared it the day before. Like, seriously, like these people are so high in their practice, but it seems like they never prepared. And I was like having the imposter syndrome, being like, who am I to give conference? I'm not like, I'm young, I'm not worldwide famous, like I have no credibility. But seeing these people doing that, I'm like, well, I think I know enough. I know enough. I don't need to be the only expert that I know everything. I don't need to wait. I'm 65 to do a conference, right? And I started to email like McGill, where I did my master's degree, University of Montreal, and I did my undergrad, to be like, would you be interested in having a workshop, a talk about writing for brass and the techniques? And weirdly, people were like, yes, we would love that. When are you free? And I was like, oh, okay. So, and the credibility you'll gain is also built through these experiences. And same for the ensembles I started. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, I'm part of this group with this person I never thought like was out of reach. But you just asked, like, would you like to be in the project with me? And most of the time people are yes people, especially in music. People want to play, people want to collaborate, or like having a piece written for you. Just surround yourself with some composer friends, have a coffee with them, discover them as a human, and then if it clicks, hey, would you be interested in writing? We could collaborate on a new piece for trumpet, like a short one. Like, you don't need to be like an hour-long piece, but don't be afraid to cold call, call message, cold coffee. Hey, do you want to get a coffee and talk? And most of the time people will say yes, honestly.
When you were in school or a young professional, did you ever get any formal training on marketing or promoting yourself, or was it all just kind of trial and error? And if it was, where did you misstep along the way? What would you go back and do differently, or what did you do right away, and what would you tell students to try?
So I didn't get much marketing stuff at school. I had one class that was called Musician's Career, and it was kind of like, yeah, trying to promote yourself, put yourself out there. But honestly, it was my second year of undergrad. I don't think I was even there yet. And I was lucky enough, when I finished my master's degree, I was in a love relationship with a composer. And as composers, I feel they have to put themselves out there a bit more sometimes with performers. So, I got to get like how to write grants, for example, because he was writing a lot of grants. I got more inside a circle of friends. So I was surrounded by people who were more used to do that, a bit older than me as well. So that helped. But I really did everything myself. But I think it was a lot by just putting myself out there. Today is hard, like to say yes to a non-paid gig, or because life is harder. But like I would sometimes be, this doesn't pay, but I think it's going to be fun, so I'll just do it. So I put myself a lot out there to be known, just to be like, because most of the time also people will hire their friends or the most recent people they've seen. So if you're not there, of course it might be hard for people to be remember of you. And it's not that they don't like you. It's just like, oh yeah, it's true. I forgot about this person. I haven't seen them in 6 months. I think I knew early enough that social media was a great way to be seen, to be able to reach out to other people too. And so it was about, for me, I know I will sound old. I don't know, people are on TikTok and everything, but for me, Facebook was really how I got into. I see it as a portfolio, basically just talking about my next events, what I'm working on, pictures. I see Instagram. I do the same, but also a bit more like I love taking pictures of my trips and everything, so it's different. So but I also ask a lot of people like, hey, I need to write a grant, but I'm not sure. Like, can you help me? Can you proofread what I wrote? And a lot of people again were saying yes. So I ask a lot to other people that were maybe sometimes like just 2 years older than me, but I knew had more experience. again, like to not be afraid to exist or to post something that is not perfect, I think will also help a lot to see people so that people can see you as a human, as an artist rather than a robot.
Let's talk trumpet extended techniques. I'm a trumpet player, so I'm really curious to hear what some of your favorite techniques that you do are, and if you've invented any or if you're still experimenting and how you come up with these ideas.
The first thing I would like to say is that I'm not a fan of the term extended techniques because that implies that you have some regular, normal techniques, some of them that are more funky, but I think they should all be on the same level, especially because in some orchestration books, if I'm not mistaken, the pizzicato on strings is still considered as an extended technique, which is weird, right? Because it's something that they use all the time. I often say that a lot of brass students are really good at playing split tones when they first take the instrument because you play with a really tight embouchure and everything, and then it's like, forget about this. Maybe you'll come back at it in 20 years, but for now, just forget about it. But I love split tones where you have a lot of different harmonics in the sound and you hear one or two or three different notes at the same time by just playing in a slightly different way that it's not really more tiring or what. It's just about having like this crackling noisy. I love noisy sounds, distortion sounds. This I really like because especially I feel brass instruments are really stereotyped, especially the trumpet, right? It's like fanfare, army. I don't know, like it has such a specific sound. And I'm always like, how can I make it not trumpety? I like what's happening inside of the instruments, like how valve, where is the area that you should always have your valves completely down, but if you have this sweet spot where the air is, you feel it, it's not going on the right way, and it's like playing the inside of the trumpet, which I really like. The thing I feel with trumpet and improvisation is that as opposite to a pianist or a percussionist, we can play forever. If I have a 40-minute improv session, I might play depending of also like did I travel, am I tired, what happened last night. I might not play trumpet for half of it, but I'll play, but I'll do something else. And I'm a big fan of balloons, which is again where to come back for improvisation exercises. Latex balloons, really cheap, and you can make so many cool sounds with them. You blow it, and then you just play with the end of it, and just trying to find some sounds can be really cool. And also love when my instrument can sound like another instrument. So taking the mouthpiece upside down and just blowing air like in a flute, you get like these whistle tones that can be really quiet, almost like if something is happening or not. But then if you put more air, it's gonna be really loud. And I'm a big fan also of having cheap ways to make bigger sounds. So my favorite one is I bought a dog's toy, squick squick toy, and I cut it to get the whistle. So it became a wacky whistle that I put between my teeth, so it's really not tiring at all. And when you find the right angle in the mouthpiece, it can sound like it's crazy. It's completely distortion sound, and if you have the plunger with it, you can also play a bit more. So I guess I love any techniques, but like really the ones where you're like, oh, I never thought that putting a whistle will just be so interesting. So finding unusual way, and like we have the chance to have mutes. We all know the typical mutes, but like, what if we went really crazy and put like aluminum foil directly on the bell, or we have so many things at home we can use. So finding like mundane objects to create new sounds.
Do you have any like recordings of yourself that you'd like to like list off so if anyone's listening they could go and find recordings of those things?
Totally. I think the best way would be to go to my YouTube channel, which is just my name. And I listed couple of like contemporary music pieces, some premiered, and I have a lot of improvised music videos, either solo with people. So I think there's probably a lot of things you can find. You probably see me also playing the slide whistle. Big fan of slide whistle because you can reuse the same techniques on the trumpet, like double tonguing, flutter tongue, but you can do it on a slide whistle. You can even sing while blowing in the slide whistle. So this is fun too.
Okay, last question. Money and time aside, what's your dream project? What would you love to do right now?
That's a really good question because I was like, oh, I feel I haven't thought about that in a long time. Honestly, if I'm thinking about little Emily, who just started trumpet and sometimes cried when she didn't play perfectly at her exam and would be like, I'm not good enough to be a trumpet player. No way I'm gonna make a living out of it. But seeing where I am now, and I'm really not saying that to brag, it's more to acknowledge all the work that has been done. I'm really proud of where I am right now. And it's almost like everything is extra. Everything is another cherry on top. Just the fact I'm able to live from a passion. I'm also most of the time I'm playing with friends or people I really enjoy playing with, and I'm traveling for music is already a big thing, in my opinion. And I love having small dreams, not just like having one big dream. And if it doesn't work out, I'm sad, but I love small dreams. Like I didn't record an album yet of my own things. I would love to have my idea would be to have a bit like an EP with some of my improvisation as a collage, to have a lot, like I'm improvising a lot of material, and then after I'm editing it to put some tracks together. And then I have a good friend of mine I would love to. She will, with her pedals and all of her electronics, she's the expert in that, would just remix this album. So this, I would like to do that. Also, I'm from a small mining town, and we have an underground mine that you can visit. And I just need to get the money for a grant. I need to write the grant, and I need to get the money. But my dream is to record in the mine because the acoustic is amazing, and do kind of a short movie with that. So really to have a crazy experience, like to use like in situ performance to make something out of it. So these are, I would say, my probably short-term project because I know it's not out of reach. And of course, I want to continue traveling. You know, I did so many summer music festivals. I can't wait to be the guest artist at a summer festival to finally also give back because I feel like I was so lucky to have really nice people who taught me so many things. And I feel I'm in this area of my career when, like, I love mentoring. I love being able to give back and maybe to be, have you thought of doing something different? There's also not just music in life. And one of my other dream is, to go to the Galapagos Island. I think that would be really amazing. And I know it's something you need to plan ahead. And as a freelance musician, it's really hard sometimes to, I hate that sometimes I take vacation, but it's because it's after a gig and I'm somewhere else. I'm saying I hate that because this is fake vacations. I don't remember the real, like, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, the real vacation without instrument, without no emails, nothing. And I think it would be nice to just book something maybe 2 years in advance. Oh, crazy. Like, I don't know, maybe I have a gig, but I'll say no to the gig because I want to go to this trip. So I would love to go there, or even like in Tanzania for a safari. I don't know, seeing things that also sometimes I'm eco anxious. So being like, I don't know, in 10 years, will it still be possible? Maybe not. I would like to see that now. Life is just a big experience. So trying to experience as many things as I can to have more cherries on top because honestly, the Sunday is already pretty full and nice. So yeah, everything will be extra cherry.
That's so great. I'm so glad you mentioned something that wasn't music related because I love that we're all humans. We need to have things we're looking forward to that's not music related.
Exactly. And I don't think, when we'll die, I don't think my trumpet will be next to me and deep down, our instrument, music is a medium to have interpersonal relationship, to develop human relationship. And at the end of the day, it's just about that. At least I went into music. Now I realize it to be in contact with humans and to create links and to create meaningful links. So many people have a stable, really stable and boring life where they know it's going to be like that until like for 30 years or so. But we have the chance to meet so many different people, to visit so many different places. And I think we should really cherish that because it's not everyone, even if we're like, I mean, I have maybe two friends who are not professional musicians, but every time I'm like reminded that we like they're happy with their lives. I'm not saying they're not happy, but we have something that is really unique and that we should cherish that.
I don't want to surprise you at all, but I know that you speak French, and I'm wondering if there's anything you want to say to any listeners in French.
Oh, ça me ferait très plaisir de vous parler. Si jamais vous voulez entrer en contact avec moi, que ce soit en français, en anglais, je suis là pour vous. I just said that I'm happy to speak in French, English to anyone who would like to reach out. Yeah, but yeah, my first language is French, so.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and such great advice. It was so nice to meet you. Is there anything else you want to say or any questions you have?
Thank you because your questions were really, really nice. And if ever anyone is interested in, I know for IWBC I was a mentor for the last two years, I think. But if ever anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm on social media and I'm on YouTube. I have my website, which is mfortin.com, so EMFORTIN.com. You can reach out to me via my form. But I'm really happy to just chat, to send you some recordings, to help you with anything. Honestly, I wish I had more mentors when I was younger. So if I can give back, it's honestly my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of IWBC's Brass Flexibilities. My name is Amy Batchelder, and it has been my pleasure to host and edit today's interview with our esteemed guest, Emily Fortin. A special thank you to our wonderful producer, Dr. Lauren Rudzinskas, and the members of Monarch Brass who you can hear in the intro and outro music performing IWBC's 2025 commission, Rise. To learn more about IWBC and how to get involved, please visit our website, myiwbc.org, or our social media pages. If you'd like to be featured on the podcast or know someone you'd like us to interview, please reach out anytime using the email info@myiwbc.org. You can stream this podcast on all major podcasting platforms as well as our YouTube page and social media. You can support IWBC via donation, volunteering, or attending our holiday brass concerts in St. Louis, Missouri and Baltimore, Maryland. See you in the next episode of Brass Flexibilities.